Hey guys, Michael here, coming here to answer your questions again. Sorry I missed yesterday. I was in board meetings all afternoon and evening for our Pitney Meadows Community Farm, the nonprofit I'm on the board for and working on. So, missed yesterday, but back here today answering your questions. Now, I'm actually at my parents', and if you look outside, I hope you can see outside here. We are practically getting snowed in. There is a ton of snow out there. And I have to actually get on the road later today, so it's going to be a bit challenging. But it's a great day to curl up by the fire and work and get some planning done. So let's jump into these questions. We had some really good questions come in, all sorts of topics. So the first question that came in was, what are the pros and cons of running your own farm versus running a farm for someone else? Love to hear your thoughts. So I've actually done both of these. We ran our own farm for about 10 years. And then I actually worked for a billionaire in the Hudson Valley who wanted a farm, and I don't think he knew what he wanted, so that was part of the problem. Now, if you have the right situation, it can be great, and there's a couple reasons if you were to run for somebody else. Now, one thing is you can start stockpiling away money for your own farm if you want that. I know a lot of people starting out, getting on the ground, getting cash flow, and that sort of stuff is really challenging. So, that can be something that will be really helpful. The other thing is, and I hate to say this, but you're making mistakes on someone else's dime. And I'm not necessarily saying, obviously, if you make a lot of mistakes, they're probably going to fire you. But it can be a great way to learn and get the experience you need. Now, obviously, disadvantages are you're probably not creating equity in the business. So unless they've set up you a structure that you are doing that. And it's not your own thing. So if you a lot of people get into farming because they like doing their own thing and making decisions. So if you're doing that, then, it might not be for you. And that was one of the challenges with working for this billionaire is I had an idea of how to build the farm based on our 10-year history and kind of how we had built our success. And, we were building $30,000 chicken coops. So needless to say, we didn't see eye to eye. But again, it can be a great way to start your farm. And, I know a lot of people that got their start by working for somebody else. And there's some great opportunities, too. If you're really well trained, you can command a really good salary working for somebody else. I know multiple jobs out there right now. I'm not sure if they're still open, but we're offering like 60 to 80K for that type of thing. So second question is, I've had a problem with how to pay myself, not necessarily pay rate, but the actual paycheck and taxes, etc. Do they go through a company or do I do myself through a program? Thanks for all the great info in your videos. Here's how I would do this. So generally as an owner of a business, we suggest you set up through an LLC. And if you set up through an LLC, then you usually take what's called a owner's draw. And that can just be a check to yourself every month or every 2 weeks. Now, the big thing is, because you're now self-employed, you have to pay your own taxes and such. So that's something we do recommend doing a quarterly filing for that sort of thing. But, this is my opinion. This is how we've always done it. I would suggest if you're working with a bookkeeper or an accountant, do get their opinion. Because, again, they may be running your books differently, and I don't want to say one thing and then they say, oh my gosh, we're actually should be doing it a different way. So that's one thing I would suggest. That's how we did it, but do work with a bookkeeper and at least talk to your accountant about how they want you to structure that. And yeah, we didn't really do it through a program. Obviously, we were recording it in QuickBooks, but I just got to check it once a month. All right, so another one here. I'd like to know how you went about budgeting or what you would have done differently for the beginning of the year. Years 1 to 3 when budget is very tight. Keep it up, brother. Oh, thanks, man. Our first years were tough. They were pretty challenging. There was some crazy stuff that we did. Didn't make all the right decisions. But again, we were 16 and 17. So the first years on our farm were a big party. We weren't drinking. We were eating a lot of ice cream. That's what we will say. But I think the number one thing that I would say we didn't do is we didn't sit back and make a long-term vision, a long-term plan, and think logically about the next steps on our farm. So it kind of just evolved. Now, I'm not saying that's a bad thing, because in the early stages, you're not sure what's going to work. But knowing kind of, all right, so next year we want to do X and we're going to start planning for this really will help. So just sitting back and penciling out too what you're making money on and where your big expenses are and where you want to focus too. So that's the big thing I would say is the number one thing I would say we failed in our first couple of years is really sitting back and doing more calculations and knowing what we were making money on and not making money on. The other things I would have said is invest in tunnels so much sooner. You make so much money in tunnels, and especially with how cheap Caterpillar tunnels are, you can make money so fast. I mean, those things pay for themselves in literally one planting of good lettuce in there. So that tunnels, focus on retail markets, because in the early stages of your business, you're probably not at the margin yet to sell to some of these wholesale. So I would focus on retail markets and focus also in the first years of finding good mentors and finding good education to get you 10xing yourself. Because I see a lot of people struggle for 2 or 3 years, and if they just invested in some really good, either a good conference or going to a course or just gleaning from good people that are working or a good mentor, that can really help you get off. We have clients that in the first year they've done 100K on a half acre to an acre. And so, that's the kind of success I want for you. All right, so the fourth question here is, we try to keep everything digital if possible for emailing invoices and having mobile access with our chefs. We were able to edit estimates or invoices upon delivery using Xero. That's Xero. We get a digital pick list from one of our accounts, text and emails from others. What are your thoughts on not having a paper system as we increase in size? If you can get away from paper, I think that's great. One reason we like the paper is because we have an actual physical copy to hand the chefs at the delivery site. So if you can do that all digitally and actually right from when you're standing there, email them right to their email, and that can be done probably through that invoicing software. I think you're onto a great idea of how to manage that. And so what we had is, again, we had all the different orders coming in, and then we made sure all the chef orders went on the slips on that invoice, that basically paper invoice we had. But what I would suggest you do there is I would suggest that if you're using a digital version, just have it all in there so that you're only looking at it one place. Because again, the more different versions you have floating around, it's going to be more of a challenge. So, yeah, that's all the questions I had. Again, I will try to be back on tomorrow. Tomorrow I fly home. And I should be able to do something in the evening, or maybe I can do something in the airport before I fly. But we do have a free workshop coming up starting Monday, free webinar series, a couple different times. But if you go to ripenworkshop.com, you can sign up for that. So we're going to talk you through the 5 principles we use to build our farm and that we use when we work with clients, and that really seem to resonate with them and help them to grow really fast and make a profitable, sustainable life while not having to work, crazy amount of hours. So again, it's kind of our hack to shave years off your time as getting to that profitable flywheel stage. So again, go to ripenworkshop.com, sign up for that. Super excited about that. And again, we'll be here tomorrow. Hope to see you then. And until then, keep up the good work. All right, have a great rest of your day.